Then after him, there's an individual who's extremely important, and we'll spend some time with this individual because he changed the outlook of this ilm for everyone who came after. And that is al-Hafiz Taqiyuddin Abu Amr Uthman ibn al-Ṣalāḥ al-Shahrazuri al-Kurdi, was born in the year 577 and passed away in the year 643. And he lived in Damascus. This individual is an extremely, extremely important alim when it comes to Uṣūl al-Hadith. Why? Number one, he was Shafi'i. What did he do? He was appointed as the head teacher in Dar al-Hadith al-Ashrafiyya, al-Madrasa al-Ashrafiyya in Damascus. And while he was appointed as the head teacher, he tried to gather all of the different discussions pertaining to, or that stem from the general idea of ulum al-hadith, the different disciplines regarding hadith. He tried to gather them all together. And a famous book was gathered. And he used to teach imla'an, and he used to teach the students these different aspects, and they would write it down. And in the end, there was a book which was gathered. And this book is known as Ma'rifatu Anwa'i Ilm al-Hadith. It's also known as Muqaddimah, Muqaddimah ibn al-Ṣalāḥ, the Muqaddimah of Ibn al-Ṣalāḥ. In this work, he mentions 65 different categories and sub-branches of the ulum of hadith. We say, وَهُوَ مِنْ أَجَلِّ كُتُبِ مُصْطَلَحِ الْحَدِيثِ وَأَحْسَنِهَا. It's one of the greatest works that have been compiled in Mustalah. And this was a pivotal, this book plays a pivotal role when it comes to this ilm. Why? Ibn al-Ṣalāḥ is a famous scholar who put down in words what becomes later known as the accepted definition, the accepted conditions, 5 conditions that are necessary for a hadith to be authentic. He is the one who put them in those words. He is the one who differentiated between the two types of al-hadith al-hasan, claiming there's one which is called al-hasan li nafsihi and one which is called al-hasan li ghayrihi. He is the scholar who elaborated on the different types of meanings when it comes to shadh and munkar. And he is the scholar that gathers a number of these anwa of ulum al-hadith and puts them in one book, one after the other. And everyone after him built upon his work. Everyone that comes after him builds upon his work. So either they explained it, or they did ikhtisar of it, they summarized it, or they, for example, didn't agree with certain things that he would say. And like, for example, he's making definitions. He's coming up with definitions. He's trying to define what is al-hadith al-hasan, what is al-hasan li ghayrihi, what is al-sahih li ghayrihi, what is al-da'if. He's trying to come up with these definitions. And sometimes later scholars might differ. So there was some scholars, for example, that regarding this work, for example, they mentioned that, okay, we don't agree with this. And there are other scholars that came in sharh. There are other scholars that came and wrote a mukhtasar, a summarized version of the work, and so on and so forth. So everyone after him goes back to him. That's why we say مصدر ما تفرع عنها. So everyone that comes after, either they're just gonna change up the tartib, the order. They might think, okay, he mentioned the anwa', but maybe start off with this, then mention that. Or to make it easier, they make it slightly summarized, or they make another out of it, or they clarify and expand on some of the points that he's trying to make. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted this work al-qabul, acceptance between people. Acceptance between people. So this is the key towards everything before it. طيب. وقد اعتنى من جاء من بعد ابن الصلاح أشد العناية بكتابه حتى قال ابن حجر فلا يحصى كم ناظم له ومختصر ومستدرك عليه ومقتصر ومعارض له ومنتصر. وكان من أفضل ما اعتنى بهذا الكتاب صنيع الحافظ العراقي إذ خدمه مرات عديدة، كان أجلها حينما نظم الكتاب ثم شرح النظم بكتابه النفيس شرح التبصرة والتذكرة. Al-Iraqi rahimahullah ta'ala, he comes and he compiles an alfiyah which is called at-Tabsirah wa-Tadhkirah regarding the works or the work of Ibn al-Ṣalāḥ. What does he say? لخصت فيها ابن الصلاح أجمعه وزدتها علما تراه موضعه فحيث جاء الفعل والضمير لواحد ومن له مستور. And he goes on. He says, the point over here, لخصت فيها ابن الصلاح أجمعه. Al-Iraqi rahimahullah, he says, I summarized in this nadam the entirety of what Ibn Salah mentions. وزدتها, and I added sometimes benefit. And you will find that over there. And he then clarifies his manhaj in his work. So, Al-Iraqi rahimahullah, he gathers a nadam upon the Muqaddimah of Ibn Salah. And there are other works that are also compiled upon this book. طيب. So now we'll look at some of the works that were compiled after this book. And all of them, again, we say go back to what Ibn Salah does. Number one, we have Al-Irshad al-Imam al-Nawawi. Al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala also taught in Dar al-Hadith al-Ashrafiyya. But when he arrived, Ibn Salah rahimahullah ta'ala had already passed away. So Imam Nawawi was not the direct student of Ibn Salah. Imam Nawawi was not the direct student of Ibn Salah. Ibn Salah rahimahullah ta'ala passed away, as we mentioned, in the year 642. Or 643, 642. Imam Nawawi comes to Damascus in the year 649. But then he taught in the same seat that Ibn Salah would teach. And he compiled Al-Irshad, in which he summarized the Muqaddimah of Ibn Salah. And then he compiled another summary where he summarized his summary, which was Al-Irshad, called At-Taqrib. Taqrib al-Taysir. And Suyuti rahimahullah ta'ala comes along and he compiles a sharh on At-Taqrib, which is called Tadrib al-Rawi. Tadrib al-Rawi is one of the greatest works now, one of the most extensive works of Mustalah al-Hadith that are present today, and it is still taught. And alhamdulillah, I had the privilege of studying this book for a number of years. This is one of the most extensive and beautiful works that have been compiled on Mustalah. Tadrib al-Rawi, Sharhu Taqrib al-Nawawi. We also have Al-Iqtirah Ibn Daqiq al-Eid. Like Ibn Daqiq al-Eid is also an absolute genius in the ulum. And his biography is worth reading. His biography is worth reading. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed him. And he had an understanding of the ulum aqliya far greater than many others did in his time and even after him. And a lot that come after him benefited from his work, even if they don't always reference that it's coming from him. So Ibn Hajar and others, they all depend on him, but they might always reference that, okay, we're taking this benefit from Ibn Daqiq al-Eid. Ibn Daqiq al-Eid has a work on Mustalah. It's called Al-Iqtirah. And this is a beautiful, beautiful work. Because at this point, let me put it this way. As I mentioned, after Ibn Salah comes along, Ibn Salah in his work, he came up with something new. He mentioned conditions one by one for al-Hadith al-Sahih. That wasn't done before. He mentioned exact definitions for al-Hasan. That was also not done before. And a lot of the scholars that came after him agreed with what he said. But there are some scholars that came after him that didn't agree. Or they showed you the flexibility of this ilm. And if you look at the ones before Ibn Salah and these few scholars after Ibn Salah, you will see that to pinpoint exact one definition of al-Hadith al-Sahih amongst the muhaddithun is not easy. And it's not easy to pinpoint an exact definition of al-Hadith al-Hasan or al-Hadith al-Da'if amongst the muhaddithin. It was more of a practical ijtihad that occurred in each scenario. But when you put it down in words, it seems like it's 1 + 1 + 2 equals 2. It seems like it's 1 + 1 = 2. It seems like it's a mathematical equation. It's a formula. And it seems like everyone always agreed with that formula, even if they didn't. But the benefit of works like Al-Iqtirah Ibn Daqiq al-Eid is that he indicates towards where there is flexibility. And he indicates and shows that, okay, wait, not everyone agreed with these things that Ibn Salah mentioned, for example. So this is one of the fine works where you'll find the flexibility and the fluidity that was actually present amongst muhaddithun even after Ibn Salah. And definitely it was present before Ibn Salah, for anyone who looks into detail regarding the works that have been compiled. And to paint ilm al-Hadith as if it's 1 + 1 = 2, as if it's mathematics, that is completely incorrect. These are not qawa'id that you can take 1 + 1 = 2 and treat it like math. Fulan rawi da'if, fulan rawi sahih, therefore the hadith is da'if because there's a rawi in it that's da'if. This is not how this ilm worked in the past. But this is how this ilm was treated by some individuals in the later centuries because of the roles of Ibn Salah and al-Hafidh ibn Hajar. So that's why works like الاقتراح لابن دقيق العيد are extremely important for a student of hadith to also reference. طيب, we also have الخلاصة في معرفة الحديث للطيبي, in which he did تلخيص of the Muqaddimah of Ibn al-Ṣalāḥ. طيب, then al-Jurjani comes along and he did تلخيص of al-Khulasa. This is known as مختصر al-Jurjani. And this مختصر, the مختصر of al-Jurjani, the sharh of it was compiled by the famous Abu al-Hasanat Abdul Hayy al-Laknawi, the genius, al-Nawawi al-Thani, who passed away in the year 1304. Why am I calling him al-Nawawi al-Thani? Because he also passed away at a young age, around the age of 40, just like Imam Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala. Yet the works that this individual has left behind al-Laknawi, just like al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, leave you speechless. And he compiled this work, which is a sharh of Mukhtasar al-Jurjani, and is called Ghafar al-Amani fi Mukhtasar al-Jurjani. And the greatest tahqiq of this is compiled by Shaykh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghuddah. طيب, As-Suyuti rahimahullah ta'ala benefits from al-Khulasa, and likewise he does naqal in his work Tadrib al-Rawi. So it's from the Maraji', al-Khulasa is from the Maraji' of As-Suyuti in Tadrib al-Rawi. Likewise, Al-Amir al-San'ani benefits from this work and does naqal from it in Tawdih al-Afkar. And likewise, Al-Lakhnawi rahimahullah ta'ala in his other work, which is regarding Jarh and Ta'dil, called Al-Raf' wa Takmil, he also benefits from Al-Khulasa lit-Tibi. So this is a book of reference, and a lot of references are made to some things that Al-Tibi has mentioned in this work, in later works of Mustalah as well. طيب, then we had Al-Manhal al-Rawi li Badr al-Din ibn Jama'ah, who does Talkhis of Muqaddimat ibn al-Ṣalāḥ as well.